Yo, 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 guys, what is up? And welcome back to another episode of the Game Six Clay podcast. It's your boy Gautam. Full squad today. We got both the boys, Matt and Chuck. Gentlemen, welcome back. We got to stop making this a habit, man. Every time we're recording these, it comes off just yet another blown loss. Last time me and Matt chopped it up after Sacramento. Thought that might have changed something. Then we got OKC now. Chuckster, Matt, how we doing, gentlemen? It's been a couple days since yet another brutal loss. Before we get back into the hoops part of everything, how we living, boys? How we living?
Oh man, it's been a lot, doing a lot of getting a lot of travel out of the way, which explains the whole absence. Had to go pick up the old pup. She's been settling in nice. I kind of really respect that there's one thing about dogs where they just kind of, they're oblivious to everything in the outside world. And no matter how I feel, Sophie does not know that the Warriors are 10 and 12 and the dynasty might be over, and I'm extremely jealous of that. Matt, how you doing?
Good. No, I
Good.
I had a great weekend, man. My folks came out to visit. It was nice to see them for a bit. There was no Warriors basketball on, so my dad and I couldn't have some like mutual hate fest towards each other and everything around us. So that was good. But then before the pod, just to make sure I was all caught up, I put on the Warriors Thunder game from Friday, just for the sake of time and watching like what I could. I watched the first half of the fourth quarter, and I know what happens in overtime. So I'm not feeling too hot about all that right now. But you know, I don't fucking know. I don't know.
Hey man, we're gonna be championship, and I'm back on that. It's been 3 days since we played and blew another lead. But nah, I'm with you, man. It's been another. Let's just jump right into it, man. The question on everybody's mind, and I think that it's been on ours in our group chat and just all over the timeline, man. Are the Warriors cooked as currently constructed? Are the title hopes gone? So you're sitting at 10 and 12, and this is something I've debated myself, just being an Optimist fan. I mean, you guys know it. I'm never not gonna bet against the Warriors or never not gonna bet, whatever. I'm always betting on the Warriors to win it. And going into the season, I had the same. I think we all were very optimistic in terms of Matt. You might have messed it up, man. We needed you on the dark side, and we did too. We had too good of an offseason to get you back on the light side. But
You
um,
guys know what I think it's every time that I predict something good to happen. I think
yeah, we gotta
the
just
horrible thing. It's not just like, oh, the good thing doesn't happen. A horrible thing tends to happen very shortly afterwards,
and
and
like we love you,
here
we
we
love
are.
you, we love you. But no, we might need you to channel that Order 66, Anakin Skywalker, get back onto the dark side, and then get us back to the championship run. But no, man. But it's a question that we have to talk about because it really is that time. You're 22 games into the season. It's when things start to let's it's time for teams' identities start getting shaped at 20-ish games, and we've said this on the pod that that's kind of where we're gonna start to make some bold claims about the team. And 22 games in, you're 10 and 12. You've blown more leads than I think games and you've won or something like that. There's some stat out there. I think the Warriors have blown like 8 double-digit leads this season. Obviously, they've won 10, and they've lost 6 of those games. You're coming off a week where you've done that 3 times on the road against 3 playoff teams. So the way I see it is that there's positives in there. Obviously getting off to the starts, and you've seen kind of spurts of that, but it's clear that the margin for error for the Warriors as they are is as thin or non-existent as it's ever been in the dynasty. So, Chuck, man, we haven't heard from you in a couple weeks, man. Let's get your take, bro. Are the Warriors cooked as presently constructed?
Yeah, so there's three key words in there, as presently constructed. And my answer to that would be yes. As currently constructed, it's tough when you see all of the things on paper where it's like, okay, well, Wiggins should theoretically rebound. Clay should start making more shots. They have pieces where they could adjust and make some lineup changes that we'll get into later. So you can see the argument there, but it's the intangible stuff for me right now that's a concern because it used to be that the Warriors were the most talented team every time they played. And this is still the NBA. Every team's got a ton of talent. Any team can win on a given night. And when they got into those close games, they would just find a way to do it. It was guys hitting clutch shots. It was making big defensive stops. It was getting a huge rebound or a loose ball. And it feels like all of that has gone away. And I don't want to chalk it up to pure luck because that's just not what it is. This team is just not on the same page right now. You see all of the brutal late game turnovers that seem to be happening every time it gets down to the clutch. You see that they're solely reliant on Steph to make things happen instead of believing that other guys can do it. And that just kind of creates this cascade effect where everyone just kind of loses their confidence offensively. They're all just looking at 30 and going, hey, please do something because we don't think we can. And then on the defensive end, you see, like, I think the perfect example for me was you could probably chalk this up to luck a little bit, but that Kings game where game on the line, stop gets you to overtime. Andrew Wiggins puts the absolute clamps on Malik Monk, and he just hits some absolute bullshit and wins the game. Like, that's just kind of how things are going right now. They just they used to be the team that would be like, oh man, like so and so made a great defensive possession, but someone made it happen. Andre Iguodala hit a winner, or Clay made a tough shot to put the game away. Like so many different things that we haven't seen this season. And that really is it for me. This is just a team that's not cohesive right now. On the floor, obviously we can't speak to what's going on off the floor, but they just don't have it together right now, and they need some juice. And I think the one bright spot for me is that now that we have a GM who's willing to shake things up, Bob Myers, as good as the things he did for this team in terms of drafting, making free agency decisions, he was not willing to shake things up the way we've seen Mike Dunleavy do it. So that is the one thing that gives me some hope right now.
Yeah, I guess yes, they're cooked. I want to be clear. I don't think this team has constructed to win a title. I have my thoughts. I also I want to be. I hope Dunleavy is that. We don't know for sure yet. I would just say, I think trading Jordan Poole. I don't know if Bob Myers would have done it. If he didn't, that would have been insane. But also, I wouldn't have been surprised. But I do get the impression, and just based on how he's described, that Dunleavy is a guy who's just more willing to, like you said, Chuck, shake shit up. So hopefully he lives up to that idea. No, this team it's not working, right? And you kind of summed it up, right? Not only, I think it's a combination of what you said in that they don't trust anybody besides Steph to do a whole lot. Steph and Clay. One of those guys is having his most inefficient season of his career, Clay. And Steph still is that guy, obviously, right? But in addition to not trusting anybody else to make plays and to just put the ball on the floor, even, right? They don't have anybody else besides Steph who can do that right now. And that's kind of that's kind of the big problem right now is, listen, if Clay and Wiggins aren't shooting around 40% from three, that this shit doesn't work. That's as much of it. That's a huge, not having multiple guys who can put the ball on the floor works if you have three guys who are snipers, two of whom are shooting at Hall of Fame levels at all times, right? Right now, this team's not hitting shots. Everybody's up in Steph and Clay's airspace. Teams aren't guarding Looney at all, and we'll get to Looney eventually, but it's just not. They don't have the horses right now, I don't think. And I really think that I think we've been pretty pro Kuminga for the most part in this podcast, but at this point, that's their one hope for shot creation outside of Steph right now. It feels like consistent shot creation, whether it's on the block or slashing or whatever it might be, just getting you easy buckets. And especially just scoring inside, right? We know this team is one of the, I think, 29th or 30th in transition points. Points in the paint, they're nowhere near where they should be. And that's kind of one of the things people don't realize about this team in their best years was Well, again, sorry to take a shot, but Steph's gravity, Clay's gravity created more points more points in the paint than other teams created by a mile. Like they got so many buckets inside because of what those guys created, and right now this team is just not getting that, and that's fine. That's fine if you don't want to win titles, I should say. Pardon me, but it's stuff. Shit's got to change. Like it's got to change. I don't know when it's coming, but again, they need a move to contend. I don't think this roster is a title contending roster. People are really, I'm sure we're gonna hit on Clay stuff too. And this is not I don't think Clay should be benched. I think that guy is integral to the team. This team wants to accomplish, even in the event of a trade, most likely. But they don't have the horses right now. They don't have the guys to take advantage of any of the space those that Clay and Steph still create. And again, for even how poorly Clay is shooting, the guy still draws attention like nobody else in the league besides his partner in the backcourt, right? So no, the answer is no. They're fucked. They're dead. This team needs a change. Steve Kerr needs to move on. Looney and Draymond might as well be Siamese twins, man. Those guys, like no one. It's not working. So Clay had a really good game against Detroit, but where are you guys right now with all the Clay Thompson talk, the questions? You can go as far as, hey, is this a guy who opened the trading? Is this a guy? What is the deal with Clay Thompson right now?
Before we get there, I'm gonna disagree with both of you. And I don't think that this team. I'll answer the question like this.
I apologize. It's me.
The team as presently constructed is cooked. The way that these lineups out there, the closing lineups, guys like Wiggins, Clay playing together, Draymond, Looney playing together, shit's cooked. You can't win like that. The turnovers that these guys are 30 turnovers against the Thunder, you're not winning any game. I think they've been upwards of 20 turnovers in all these losses that they've blown leads in. So you fix the turnovers, you change the lineups to play more just transition basketball. The guys like Kuminga, Moody, Pods, we've seen can come in, impact the game when they play next to guys like Steph and Draymond. You have CP in there with Clay, Kuminga, Moses Moody. So there are combinations that we've seen work. GP2 when he's healthy, gets back and really brings another element on the defensive end, and also can kind of be that guy that runs the floor. So I don't think that there's necessarily a move to be made. Obviously there's guys like Pascal Siakam, Lauri Markkanen, and the only way I see the Warriors making a move is if it's all or nothing. And what I mean by that is if it includes like a Chris Paul, a Kuminga, and like an Andrew Wiggins to really go out and like get that secondary piece. Because other than that, I don't see what a move on the margins that you can make that changes the floor of this team as much as you can, given what they are right now. Like you're sitting at 10 and 12, and I know like it's been a shitty start to the season, but the Warriors they've had the hardest schedule to play as by far compared to anybody else in the league. They've played the most playoff teams, over 500 teams or whatever it is, and they've blown like 8 of those games. 6 of them have resulted in losses. And I know they've had wins too. They had that buzzer beater against the Kings. They had that Steph Draymond layup block or whatever against the Thunder. So it obviously goes both ways, but they've been in these close games, and it's really just about finishing at this point. They've had the double-digit leads in the first half. They've played Warriors basketball in spurts, but we haven't seen it for a full 48 minutes. And that's something with that even in the years past, they've always been a high turnover team that, can get into funks like this, where even in the 22 season, man, the championship run that after that 18-2 start, and when Clay started coming back and guys, Steph got hurt, Draymond got hurt, they were kind of floating around that 500 level basketball, and really took like finding the right combinations, whether it was starting Jordan Poole, starting guys like Otto Porter, GP2 and spurts and stuff like that. So I think that the fixes are in-house. But again, this goes back to what we were talking about last time, Matt, of it's on the coaching staff. It's on Steve Kerr to press the right buttons, because there are answers to the problems that they have in that locker room. I'm convinced of that. Like I think that the roster itself, they're 10 deep and they have 10 NBA players, which is something that we didn't have last year. Which is a stark contrast. So you'd think that guys like Steph, Clay, Draymond, Wiggins, whoever it is, like I'm not saying that's like that lineup obviously has been bad, that with Draymond, Looney, Clay, Wiggins. And if you look at the metrics and the numbers, Clay and Wiggins playing together and Draymond and Looney playing together have been by far the worst like 2-man groups combined. So I think there has to be some sort of where you're staggering their minutes and finding, guy where spots to play guys like Pods, Moody, Kuminga, and really get that bench unit to supplement that starters and really go like into a full on like 9-10 man rotation on a nightly basis. And we heard it a little bit after the Trailblazers win, I think, when Kuminga came in the second half and really impacted that game and got them that W. So I'm still hopeful that Steve Kerr is going to be, live up to what he's been saying in terms of nobody's guaranteed starting, nobody's guaranteed finishing. It's all in who is, playing the best at that time. But I like just watching the games, especially the ones that they've blown, like the combinations where they had Steph, Draymond, and some combination of athletic guys that can either shoot or can defend and run with it, whether it's Kuminga, Moody, Pods, GP, obviously when he's healthy. So I think that there are combinations within the locker room itself where you can press the right buttons and get out there, but it starts with Steve Kerr and the coaching staff to be able to press the right buttons, not cater into guys egos, man. Like Wiggins should not be ahead in the closing lineup compared to a guy like Moody or Kuminga at this point. Like 6 turnovers against OKC, the shot just has been really up and down. And a guy like Wiggs has been somebody who we always said was Mr. Reliable, and he's been anything but that this season. He's had spurts, he's had moments. Hopefully it's one of those things where he's starting to work his way back up. Same with Clay. I know where you kind of alluded to it earlier, Matt, but I think for Clay, it's really just he's not the level of shooter that he was back in the heyday, where if he's moving left or right, or he's coming off like a dribble pull up or something like that, you're not as confident that that's going in compared to when Clay's just a set shot. And that's not to take away from Clay's gravity. I think that gravity is still there, and when he's taking the right shots and getting it through the offense, taking good shots, we're seeing Clay, have these moments, and he's starting to shoot better too. I think he's up to like 40% in the last like 5-6 games. So it's a work in progress. But given all the factors of the schedule the Warriors have played, like that's gonna even out. They have a massive stretch of home games coming up, and I know we said that earlier, but at 10-12, you're with the way they've lost these games, I'm not ready to press the panic button just yet. They have 60 games left in the regular season, and it seems like they've found combinations at times that work. So it's really about like leaning into what works and getting away from what doesn't, which is something we haven't seen. So if they do that, then I don't think that they're cooked, presently constructed from a roster sense, but I think they're cooked from how they've been playing the first 22 games.
So I think the only I just can't agree unless Kuminga takes a massive leap. That's kind of the only scenario where I see this team being able to do anything of substance. It's not because I think you hit the nail on the head with Clay, with Wiggs, but this team's old and they're slow. Like they're really
and that's
old.
Why you
they're
have to
really slow.
and
you got to use that youth. But even then, like I'm sorry if you can't trust a single guy on this team to get 16 points a game, besides Steph, that's a problem all on its own. And that might, again, if that's not going to work in the playoffs anymore. Like you look at every other team in the league, there's at least 2-3 other guys who you can go to, whether it's Fox, Monks, Bonus, whether it's Shea, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, even Lou Dort, right? Every team has another guy. I think. Again, I don't think it's insane. I just think the secondary shot creation of those rosters so lackluster. In addition, they are so reliant on guys who like GP2, like CP3, Steph, Clay. I mean, not necessarily Clay. I think Clay's defense real quick. The guy's still an Iron Man. Somehow it's crazy. He still doesn't get hurt, which is fantastic. But you're relying on guys who are in their early, mid, or late 30s at this point. In addition to not having that secondary shot creation. And we're seeing those inconsistencies, right? Like we saw Clay have a really nice game against OKC. It's 1-6 now, right? Those really good games where it's efficient, he's shooting the ball really well. I don't think unless Kuminga can get to production wise, like where Wiggins has been previously, like an 18 point per game scorer who's playing really good defense and grabbing rebounds like he has of late too. I think he had 24 and 12 the other night, but like if he's that guy and he can be that guy consistently, and again, it's just a matter of having, in my opinion, like it's just a matter of having guys other than Steph who you can, hey, one of these two guys. In the past, it was one of Clay Wiggins and Jordan Poole is going to get 20 in that 22 title run, right? One of those guys is going to get 16 to 18. Other guys going to get 16 to 18, right? I think until they have someone who can make a defense just feel anything close to fear outside of Steph right now, I don't see with this roster. I love a lot of the I think it's totally reasonable that there's combinations that work. We've seen them all, right? We've seen this bench be really good. We've seen Sarge thrive next to certain guys. And I think they're deep as hell, like you said. Like, I don't think they're not making the playoffs. I don't think with Steph anything's impossible, but I don't think they have enough right now. Again, unless they trust, to your point earlier, Chuck, unless they trust these young guys, especially Moody and Kuminga, to do something. Because those guys, again, say what you want. They want to play, they want to get to the rack, they want to play physical, and they want to play with energy. And that's what this team lacks more than anything. And that's where I'm at. Chuck, what about you?
Yeah, I'm with you too. And I think especially on the Clay question, that's kind of, a really important crux of that argument. Like Kerr said, he wants to be flexible with starting lineups, but Steph also clearly mentioned that he doesn't find the Klay Thompson arguments as important because he thinks that Klay being out there is crucial to him. Shout out to our guy, Joe Varai, who still pointed out, as much as Klay is struggling in the box score, teams will still send two to the ball. Like when he's flying off a screen, he's getting two on the ball. And that's going to open up opportunities for other players. The problem is the guys that he's opening up the opportunities for cannot score because that doesn't open up opportunities for Steph. The defense is always going to stick to Steph. So, I mean, just breaking down the numbers, if Klay's flying off the ball, he draws two, someone's stuck to Steph. Now you have 3-on-2. But if those three guys are Wiggins, Draymond, and Looney, what's the best outcome there? Like maybe they hit those little tic-tac-toes off the roll, but they don't have those the way they used to. It's not the same team it was, and I think that's an important thing on the front of what they need to do with making these lineup decisions. How hard can you stagger Draymond and Looney? Who else can you bring into those lineups? Because we've seen Saric hit the shots. So if you have Klay creating these 3v2 chances with Steph hanging off the ball, then is Saric the guy who can take advantage of that? Because we've seen him put the ball on the deck. He's hitting all of his shots. So I think that's an important cog that they can consider. We've seen Kuminga, like when he's really playing well, granted, like you said, Matt, it's really inconsistent. But if you can get him going by playing him with starting or closing guys, then does he create more rim pressure? Does he find better chances to cut? Does he find better chances to post up, which he's been really good at this year? Those are all valid questions. And, another thing on the Klay front is Klay Thompson has had one season where he shot below 40% from three. And that was the season coming back from both of his legs exploding. And he still took 9 threes a game and hit 38.5% of them, which is a lot more than just about any other shooter can do. This season, he's only taking 7.8. That's down from 10.6 last season. So I think what you're seeing is, yes, is Klay forcing things? Sure. But he has to right now. Like he doesn't really have a choice. His shots per game are down so much. He's taking almost 5 less than he did last year. And that doesn't seem to compute because, you've lost Jordan Poole. Like you have Chris Paul, who's a much more diminished scoring threat. You would think that Klay's shots would be going up, but they're going down because the team can't create the space for him to get the easy stuff. Everything he has to do right now is difficult. And yeah, he's looking short on some of the open looks right now. But, here I go. I'm going back to my empirical research I did on Klay Thompson's shot for the seasons after he came back from the injury. He started off cold each of those 2 seasons coming back from the injury, and then he got scorching hot down the stretch. So he's going to do that. Like he's going to make more than 35% of his threes going forward. But the question is, how do they find the right lineups that can start to tweak things, make things a little bit easier for him, open up a little more space. And, Matt, you made the point earlier of Clay used to be the gravity guy, and he still is the gravity guy, but he's not the guy who can create all of the gravity anymore and have things happen for other people. He needs some created for himself, and that can't all come from Steph. It needs to be guys like Moses, it needs to be guys like Kuminga, it needs to be guys like Brandon Pajemski, who I think we've seen can be great on the drive, really great when he's attacking a closeout. So they have tools there to improve this Clay question. And unfortunately, the answer is just not Andrew Wiggins, not Kevon Looney, not Draymond Green. You have to split those guys up as best you can.
And that kind of comes to the crux of the whole issue right now is will Steve Kerr make those adjustments? And through 22 games, we haven't seen that. I think we've dabbled in it. I think we saw when Chris Paul didn't close against the Trailblazers, they went for a bigger lineup. And so it really comes down to like that is my biggest X factor right now is will Steve Kerr go away from the vets? Obviously, I know he went on, I think it was 95.7 where he was talking about how, he's riding with the vets, they've proven it, blah, blah, blah. But at a certain point, like 22 games in the season, like we've all said it, man, that is the first indicator of what kind of team you're going to be in. Right now, they're below 500 team, with obvious runway to get better, but it starts with making sure you're pressing the right buttons. So it really comes down to whether Steve Kerr is willing to not necessarily even I would love to see a starting lineup tweak, but that's not even the biggest issue, man. Like it really is the lineups that close and those kind of in the middle lineups that can kind of make that difference. And Matt, I know you were just setting one in with JK playing next to Steph and Clay. Whether that's Moses playing with Draymond, whoever it is, like I'm sure there's like 5-man units that we've seen that off like have been better. So is there a lineup change? Is there a starting lineup change that you see that can be made? Whether that's, I think we can all agree that Looney has to go to the bench. Like everybody loves Looney. The statue is always going to be there. Loondog is a absolute stud and will be remembered very fondly for what he's done in a Warriors uniform. But time it like you said, Chuck, it's an older team and Looney is not getting any younger. The hips aren't getting any younger. And so it looks slow. You can't play him and Draymond together. It's too clunky. He's just not an offensive threat. So granted, he's playing only like 18, 20 minutes a night, but those minutes have to come with the right guys and playing with the right lineup. So what are some of those lineups that you guys see? I know JK closed the last couple games with the main four. And Wiggins maybe subbing out with somebody like Moses would be one that I think of, but I'd love to see a guy like Jonathan Kuminga in the starting lineup. I'd love to see Moses Moody get a crack at it, whether that's subbing out Wiggins and Looney, or if that's just subbing out Loon and sliding into Kuminga. I also just never want to see Corey Joseph take the floor again. That's another adjustment. The guy is. I don't even think I hated Brad Wanamaker as much as I do Corey Joseph. The guy makes my blood boil. He just does nothing right on the court. And I'm sure that there are people that are going to say that he does. And I'm sure there are moments he's had, but every time it feels like he's on the floor, something bad happens, whether it's the turnover, it's a bad shot, it's a bad pass. It's dude has to get off the floor. But Matt or Chuck, yeah, take it away, man.
I just have to throw this out there because I came prepared with the Corey Joseph. For all combo guards really, just in the NBA in general, Corey Joseph has the worst points per shot attempt of any guard in the league right now.
That's incredible.
Sounds fucking right.
And granted, we've said all of the things about what this team is and who struggles to get open shots. You know who doesn't struggle to get open shots? Corey Joseph. They're like, please, if Corey Joseph beats us, whatever. And he's just like, I'm good. Yeah, no, I just had to throw that in there because I am tired.
It makes total sense. He is the quintessential, like, he might like 0-0-0-0 guy, a 0-0-0. He is that guy. You know what I mean? Like he's making Chuck's triple single take look really, really generous. You know what I mean? Like, and no, it's incredible. I do think I think I agree. The first move was Looney going to the pine, right? I don't. It's also tough at this point because when do you find Looney minutes now, and how often do you need them? I think maybe alongside Saric or maybe whatever you got to do there, but it's tough. Like we said, we've hit on it enough. The spacing issues, the shot creation issues are all kind of tied together in a lot of ways. I think that's step one. Personally, I think step two is Wiggins, and I think it's JK and Moody getting in there for those two guys, and that's just with Wiggins playing the way he is. Again, he looks more energetic, but at a certain point, it's like this is one of my big kind of like gripes right now with the way a lot of fans are looking at this. It's at a certain point, you can say why a thing isn't happening and blame a certain thing on whatever factor you want to. If guys aren't making shots in a basketball game, you're going to lose. Like, that's kind of the end of it, right? Like, that's a problem. Like, you have to score the ball to win. And regardless, and that's again, this is going to come back to Clay, and it's not supposed to, but like a lot of like Clay shoots poorly with Wiggins on the floor. Like, Clay does this and that. It's like, hey, at a certain point, like, no matter what happens, Clay needs to start hitting shots. Do you want to put Clay in a better position to hit shots? Absolutely, yes. He's one of the best shooters of all time, and he's not in a good position to make shots right now. Wiggins might not be making shots because an injury. He might not be making shots because the spacing's been bad. He might not have been making shots because maybe it's been a fluke all along. I don't know. All I know is the guy's averaging 12 points a game on like 42, 25, 59 splits, which is that is for a starter. He's got to be the worst wing in the league at that point, playing heavy minutes. It's gonna have to change eventually. And again, Looney's kind of the first obvious choice. Throw, like you said, Gautam, Moody, or Kuminga in there, and just see what happens. But that's got to change. And again, I think the long-term fix in my mind, unless Wiggins has some extreme turnaround, again, we're 26% of the way through the season. So I don't know what's going to change. But unless that big change comes, Wiggins and JK, get them in, see what you have in the kids, man. At this point, you're not winning games anyway. See what you got. Love you, Loon. Wiggs, appreciate 22, man. It's time to win some more games, or at least see what you got.
That's totally fair, and I think that there was a stat floating around today, some graphic of points created on the Warriors, and I think Steph led it with 77. I think Moses was next, and then it was like I forget the how it rounded out, but Wiggins was a staggering minus 30, which I don't know the exact analytics that went into that whole thing, but it kind of just sums up the eye test that we've seen, man. Wiggs has just not had it this year, and but yeah, it starts with those two men. I think those are the two guys that you can really look at, especially just having potential guys in terms of Kuminga and Moody off the bench. Trace Jackson-Davis, as a athletic rim runner, a guy that who's gotten spot minutes, and again on a team that's 10 people deep. It's going to be hard to find those minutes for a young big man, and I see the developmental stage of it. Like, just hey, like it's hard to play center in the league, especially now, for a young guy to come in. But another guy that I think could impact the game better than a Corey Joseph can. And so if you are gonna be go to the end of the lineup, might as well give the kid some run as well. But before we get out of here, guys, anything coming up? We got the Suns game tomorrow, and then they got the Clippers on the road again on Thursday, and then there's a massive string of home games. We'll obviously record before that, but for the 2 road games coming up at Phoenix with Bradley Beal coming back, Suns at full strength for maybe the first time. I think the Warriors might be the first team to see them at full strength. I don't know if all 3 of them, maybe no KD. Okay. Wow. Tough, but he's got that Chase Center tribute done out of the way. And then obviously Thursday at LA against Clippers. Again, another team that you blew a lead to not last week, where your boy was in attendance, and it was shell shocking to see. But predictions, man, I'm gonna go 2-0, and I'm gonna bring it back. They get to 500. They've done it too much. They've had 3 chances to get there. They've blown it every time. So Matt, I think you said it. They like to play around getting up to 500. They did it last year. They did it. They've done it this year. So but this is the hump, and they get over.
They treat this like it's a journey to Mount Doom, man. They want to take their fucking time and
They were going there, yeah. They're Smeagol's taking them straight to the spider place and getting wrapped up in everything. They're taking every single left turn that you don't need to. But it's time. They've made it. Frodo about to throw that motherfucker in, and that is about to be 500 record coming back for this homestand. So I'm gonna go 2-0. Two teams that I think that they should beat. Quite frankly, I think that the Suns, they played them pretty well. Obviously that massive fake comeback by the young guys last time. And then obviously the Clippers, I think, are a team kind of in a similar boat, and they're starting to figure it out a little bit. So two tough ones, but two games that if you're serious about contending and if you're serious about, making some noise this season, there are two games you have to have. This slide has to stop. Tricked off too many games, just careless with the ball every single game. So that's got to change. But I'm gonna go 2-0. I got faith in these guys. I've got faith in Steve Kerr to start making some real adjustments starting tomorrow. And we'll go from there, man. But I'm going 2-0, and I know that you guys are not. So let's go.
Two things. First of all, I don't know what you're smoking, but I want it. It sounds fantastic.
Spire.
Uh, Second, it does say a lot about me as a person that there's a deep part in my brain where he goes, "Oh, he's going to the spider place," and the little nerd in the back of my head goes, "Shelob's lair, Shelob's lair," because your boy is a chronic extended Lord of the Rings watcher. But all that being said, I think they split these games down the middle. I think Phoenix, we've seen them, they are not playing their best basketball right now. They've lost 4 of their last 5, and the only team they beat was Memphis. So, congratulations on beating the infirmary team. And I think it's also tough because, yeah, they may not have any KD, but Beal, like first game integrating a new guy is always rough, and I don't think it's going to go well. So I think Warriors take that game, but the Clippers are playing some good ball right now. We got them. We split it before with them. Lost that real close one on a Paul George nasty shot. Got them before that, but this Clippers team is they're playing some hot basketball right now, and yeah, I'm going 1-1. It's nothing to freak out about because these are two really good teams, and especially Clippers just have all that athleticism and strength on the wings, and Kawhi and Paul George is a lot to deal with. So, Matt, take us home with your 0-2.
Yeah, listen, Kevin Durant's gonna play. It's not a report. He's just going to. That's my theory. Listen, I'm not predicting good things for a while. I'm sorry. I can't do it. This has just been no, I'm not doing it. I refuse to predict any wins until they play Memphis, and I don't know what the schedule says. My guess is they don't play Memphis until Ja is back. I'm just spitballing, who knows. I'm gonna go 0-2. I don't know. Listen, you say 4 out of their last 5. I say due for a win. Okay, that's all I'm thinking. Okay, so I don't really know. I'm not sure. Then the Clippers thing, man, I don't know. At a certain point, I don't even know. Also, I'm sorry, Chuck. We're in the same time zone. These games, dude. 8:30 start time for Thursday's Clipper game, man. I'm up till 11:30. Watch these motherfuckers blow leads at least 3 times a week, and then I go to school the next day and get picked on by 13-year-old kids. Okay, so I'm sorry to anybody here who's is offended by my pessimism right now. I'm just fucking having a hard one. Okay, so no, I'm saying 0-2. I hope they make my day both times. I don't think they will. Okay.
Yeah, no, I know that I'm starting to shift more towards your side because I was looking at the schedule earlier and I saw that we played Detroit on my birthday, and I'm like, oh great, I'm not even going to turn that game on. I won't do it to myself. Detroit's going to come in on like a
It's
28
always
game losing streak at that point, and then they're going to beat us somehow. Like that's where I'm at.
Bay. I'll never forget that Sadiq Bay 3 last year, man. It was just, I feel like they always play Detroit on either one of our birthdays, Chuck. It's always the 4th or the 5th, and it's always never as fun as it should be. But yeah, man, I'm happy that we got the clean split down the middle. We got the 2-0, the 1-1, and the 0-2. We're back, and hopefully with that, we get the vibes back with the Warriors. Something's got to change. Everybody's kind of at their at their limit with this team, man. I'm with you. The optimism is, it sounds kind of corny to me at this point. I'm kind of trying to make myself believe what I'm saying. But before we get out of here, man.
No, I'm sorry, Gautam, you gotta stop, man. Like it's kind of like the Dark Knight. Like you can't be corrupted, okay? If you fall
I'm
prey, then
not. I'm
I'm
not.
not gonna lie. It's curtains for me, man.
I'm not. I'm not. I'm so
Joker's
like
best case
everything I
scenario,
said, I
okay?
believe, but in my head, I'm like, yo, man, they gotta prove me right because I've been saying this for all summer and for all things. They've just been turning the shit over and blowing shit, and I cannot. I got too many LeBron fans at work where I'm just walking in like, oh my God, man, I'm fighting for my life when I go into the office, and I need some sort of good news. That stupid fucking in-season tournament, celebrating with a and full shout out to the Lakers for winning it. The propaganda tournament was ended up being real well for the NBA and all that. It was good. It was a good run. But before we get out of here, guys, as always, Chuckster, Matt, anything you guys got coming up on the horizon? Anything to shout out?
Oh, you know me. I gotta say, I picked a really good season to drift away from doing the Warriors video content around the clock and start going real league wide with it, which has been a lot of fun. I've been working through my finding a role series of picking out guys on each team throughout the league, seeing who's starting to pop, who's starting to find themselves. Already got four down: Dyson Daniels, Marcus Sasser, uh, Aaron Neesmith, Peyton Watson. There we go. Got number five coming up. Got a very particular Celtic with a particular set of skills who we're going to be digging into. So that should be a fun one. Keep an eye out for that. As always, you can check it out on theswishtheory.com.
Hell yeah.
Matt?
No, I mean, if you feel like being in a shitty mood with me the rest of the week, I'll be putting out my spirits. So
Check out,
that's
check out,
it.
man. Yeah, man. Check us all out. Check out the pod. Shout out the Niners, man. Saving all of our mental health. 10-3. Brock Purdy. It's Christian McCaffrey. This team's bound for special things. Knock on wood. Stay healthy, but they're our only hope. Shohei Ohtani is now completely on the dark side. And so also just getting paid $2 million a year for this contract. Insane. The Dodgers hate him. We'll always hate him. Shohei, welcome to the hate club,
Yeah.
man. But
It's a real shame that he died in that horrific signing with the Dodgers accident. So
it
he
was.
we doesn't exist anymore.
I didn't even want him not. I didn't. I knew he wasn't probably going to come to the Giants, but it's just anybody but those fuckers, man. We hate the Dodgers. I could tolerate the Lakers more than those fuckers, man. Fuck the Dodgers. But it makes
My
it.
my pops was in town this weekend, and he's not as active on socials as we are, right? And he, again, like you guys know, again, I'm Warriors through and through. My dad's like you; he's all three. He's Giants, Niners, Warriors. And so I'm on Twitter and I see the Shohei news, and I go to my dad. We're at the store, the student store. My dad got his master's for fun.
Hell yeah.
He's getting his robes. Yeah, he's in a great mood. I go to him and say, "Hey, did you hear about Shohei?" And he had a quarter of a second of a smile. Like he had one he had 1/10 of a second where he looked so happy and immediate dread. And he said, "The Dodgers?" And I said, "Yeah." And he in the store said, "God fucking damn it." As loud as he could, man. So it was
Shout out
tough.
Pops, man. We gotta get Pops on the show one day. Hopefully soon, especially if this losing streak continues. We gotta get Pops. But until then, guys, appreciate y'all hopping on, appreciate y'all listening, and until the next one, guys. Peace.